7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Squares, and we are sitting here in the studio. It is what I like to call Dead Week because we are a week removed from the championship games in the AFC and NFC, and we are a week from Super Bowl number...
Oh, fuck, I was 54. 54. And the only reason I remember that is a buddy of mine texted me last night and said... with the Roman numerals, next Super Bowl is going to be
Live.
Super Bowl LV, and they could have had it in Las Vegas, and they didn't.
Well played.
Yes.
Almost.
And
the one I see now is because it's LIV. Everybody, this Super Bowl is going to be live. I'm like, God, shut up. Fucking Wikipedia all over Twitter.
God.
But anyways, yeah, it is Dead Week, also known as Pro Bowl Week, because, you know, we're going to be glued to our TV watching that.
You don't think the Pro Bowl is the most exciting game of...
It should be. I know we say this all the time. It should be an exciting game. I mean, every single player that you enjoy, buy their jerseys, root for, know with their helmets off, like they're all on one field at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. I can't.
It should be a much more popular. Dude, when the Pro Bowl was in Orlando before, when I was living in Orlando, I won free tickets off the radio 2 out of 3 years. They were giving them away. They literally probably couldn't even give all of them away. It was so sad. And they had a Pro Bowl in Miami one year, and I went to that for work, and it rained the entire fucking time.
Oh, God, that must have been miserable.
It was miserable. I'm like, I gotta cover this? It was the worst. But anyways, yeah, so that's it for the Pro Bowl talk.
All right.
Again, this is the Vegas Squares, myself and Spike here.
Is there a line on the Pro Bowl?
Oh, yeah. There's gotta be. I'm gonna say pick 'em.
AFC minus 1.5.
All right, so virtually a pick 'em. What's the total?
I was just going to say
61?
The total seems low to me at 51.
51. Well, they stopped playing offense, too.
That's fair. I don't even know what the roster is.
I want to say last year or 2 years ago, the score was only like 21-7 or 24-7.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to look up pro... Man, too much.
If you're degen enough to bet on the Pro Bowl, more fucking power to you.
There's got to be another podcast to listen to.
We're not covering it.
Yeah, so that was it for it. But let's thank the sponsors who allow us to skip the Pro Bowl talk. 12-ounce Sports, where you can hear us every weekend, as you are now. Seat Giant, promo code 12-ounce Sports for your discounted sporting events, theater, and concert tickets. I want to give a big shout-out to the boss of 12-ounce Sports. He laid down some exciting news to the team members all across the empire here that he's going to be coming out for a D-Gen weekend on March Madness the first weekend. I hadn't told you yet, but I'm super excited to D-Gen with the boss.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think if it's the weekend I'm thinking of, I'm not going to be here, but if I am, I'm definitely up for some D-Gen action.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited. Never actually met the guy in person. Internet radio, and you can be anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. You could be anybody too,
that is true.
Yeah.
Speaking of anybody, I have to say this. I was walking through a casino the other day, and most of the time regarding social issues, I generally mind my own business. And this isn't really a social issue; it just freaked me out a little bit. Really had to pee, so I'm trying to find a bathroom in one of the casinos. And as I'm walking, I finally find the men's room. And right next to that men's room is a giant poster for the advertisement of RuPaul's Drag Race. They could have put that on the other side with the women's bathroom, but it's very strange to me that the last thing I see before I whip my dick out is RuPaul and a bunch of drag queens.
It can't be the first time that you've whipped your dick out and seen a bunch of drag queens. So
Shut up. That's my choice.
Okay. I see that.
That's America right there. When it's shoved in my face, I don't want it.
Yeah. No, it's strange too because I'm on Reddit quite a bit, and I don't pay a ton of attention to the politics sub or the new like a bunch of that stuff, but the RuPaul sub somehow always ends up on the front page, and they're always talking about.
Isn't it usually what you search the most?
The RuPaul drag. No, on Reddit, no. Fortunately, I can definitively say that it's just based on popularity. And
I feel like Pornhub, like black and midgets and like bound up Asian. I don't know. I feel like that's like Token
Asians.
Tony's. That's Token Tony's Pornhub. So yeah, like Asians who are like tied and bound.
Oh, okay.
Didn't think that needed explaining.
No, it was just too specific for me to think that you just kind of pulled the example out of thin air. So I'm thinking that if I were to look at your laptop, that's exactly what I would
I'm an open book, sir. Actually, no, let's not go down there. Let's talk more Pro Bowl. Yeah, let's not do a podcast detailing our Pornhub search histories. Anyways, so what are we talking about?
I have no idea. We're going to gamble on something.
Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about the championship games, because I thought for the most part of both of them, they were boring.
Yeah.
I think the only excitement we had was that KC took that 10-0 lead, and you're like, God, is Kansas City going to do it again? And, of course, they did. I mean, prefacing to the Super Bowl, I don't think they can afford to spot San Francisco a 10-point lead, or even maybe 17, but spotting Tennessee, again, the one-dimensional offense worked for 2 weeks. More power to them. They potentially ended the dynasty in New England. They crushed the probable MVP and a juggernaut who had won, 10, 12 straight games in a row in Baltimore. But you give Andy Reid 3 weeks to prepare for that, and Derrick Henry rushing for, 68 yards?
Yeah.
Which I think I won the under bet on that one. Even though you set it ridiculously high.
I was fully convinced that he would do it, because that's all that they had been doing was running the ball. So
if he could have run for 180, what was the final score of that game?
I think Kansas City won by 9 or 11 or something.
Yeah, it was 35-24.
Okay.
If Derrick Henry's got 180 on the stat sheet, is that score flipped, or what do you think? A lot lower, I would imagine.
Yeah, it would have been... Tennessee might still lose, and we were talking about it that, this is the type of game where Kansas City might only hold the ball for 12 or 15 minutes and still win by, 10 points or more.
Right.
And, if Derrick Henry's holding the ball for that long, Kansas City maybe loses one score, but I still think they win the game.
But nevertheless, Kansas City, once they finally took, I believe, it was 17-7, I think, once they finally took a 24-17 lead, it was just they had the stranglehold. And, like you said, their offense is all world. I believe their offense is far more powerful, flexible, and easily adaptable than that Ravens offense is, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The receiving options are far better. Obviously, I think Mark Ingram's a better running back than Damian Williams, but Damian Williams has been holding his own. And I love the retro Jordan cleats he wears, too. I know that's really irrelevant, but I think they look really cool. I had a pair of those when I was a kid, and I'm the idiot who wears Jordans to go play on the playground instead of treating them like collectible items that they became. But I hadn't seen those until last Sunday, and then, of course, my next-door neighbor, who ironically looks like your dad. I don't know what your dad looks like, but he looks like you, just older. And he's ironically 10 years younger than you. You have to meet him one day. It's the weirdest thing. He looks like he could be your dad, but he's younger than you. It's weird. Anyways, he's a huge Chiefs fan. He's like, yeah, he's been wearing them all. He's that kind of guy that knows what cleats they've been wearing and shit like that. He's Does
he factor that into his betting habits?
He does not bet at all.
Okay.
I think something in his past. Anyways, point being is that he had told me that guy had been wearing them all year. So, anyways, kudos to Damian Williams for the retro Jordan flyer cleats, the red and white ones. I like those, even though it didn't really match the Kansas City red. But that being said, let's flip over to the Aaron Rodgers. Remember how I said Aaron Rodgers has to air it out and be dangerous and be daring no matter what the outcome is?
Yep.
Well, he got slaughtered and did none of that.
He threw for 325 yards or so. So, he was putting the ball up. He was getting yards through the air. It just wasn't enough, and the 2 picks killed him.
Yeah.
Absolutely killed him.
Well, the last one was sure. It was... They were grasping at straws.
Yeah.
And of course, of all people who has to catch that interception, it's got to be fucking Richard Sherman.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
God damn.
He's good. He can back up his shit talking. So
speaking of, you see the shit talking he and Darrell Revis got into after on Twitter.
Yes.
He's like, somebody get this guy. I ain't got time for this clown. He's like, you're not even in the league anymore. Which he did have a great point. But I think Richard Sherman's cover one side of the field, blanket receiver, those days are over, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But that being said, I don't know. To me, it just didn't seem, and I really tried to watch that game a lot more than I did the Kansas City game. I just felt more confident that Kansas City had that game in the bag against Tennessee, even despite being down 10-0. I was more invested and interested. I was ironically more financially invested in Kansas City and more, as a fan, interested in the NFC Championship. I just didn't see it. I didn't see the firepower. And I think, and the question that no one seems to ever want to ask, because the Max Kellermans and all those fucktards of the world will just throttle their tongue across Aaron Rodgers' ballsack. Everything is blaming the new coach. Everything is blaming Mike Pettin on the defensive side of the ball, when all year it was, we got a defense, we got a defense, we got a... Now, granted, they got run all over by Raheem Mostert.
Oh, yeah.
But is it time to start thinking Aaron Rodgers might be just not this GOAT that we're expecting? Yeah. Or that we've put him on this pedestal?
I think there's been a lot of people that have said sort of the same thing, that, you know, somebody explained that Tom Brady is the hardest working, most dedicated, best quarterback to ever play the game, and that Aaron Rodgers has the best set of God-given talents to play the game.
Fair.
It's just Brady puts in more work. Brady does more with his talents. Brady does more with everything that he has been given, as opposed to Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, part of that, too, is the front office giving these guys the weapons that they need to succeed, and, you know, a defense in order to help them make the team complete, and this, that, and the other thing.
Right. And I think Tom Brady's even taken deficiencies and masked them by his work ethic and greatness. And when I mean deficiencies, is everybody always makes the argument that he's done more with less when he wins the Super Bowl, and that when he has more, a la Randy Moss, Wes Welker, etc., he doesn't win.
Yeah, which has always been kind of bizarre.
It is. But to me, you're right. I feel like I like him, and I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal here, but I kind of liken that Tom Brady mentality. Like, I wasn't always the best student in high school because I wasn't always the smartest student. But when I got to college, I realized, you know, this shit's not just going to be handed to me. Mm-hmm. So I had to read, I had to study, I had to take notes, I had to reread the notes. I had to work hard to get the same grade that somebody who's naturally intelligent would get. So I can respect the mantra of Tom Brady that never stopped working, and even when he posted that cryptic Instagram post, you know, he's still got so much more to do, and you feel like you always have that chip on your shoulder, whereas Aaron Rodgers is like, I don't worry about it, I got one. You know, and it's always somebody else's fault, which makes me really wonder if anybody's ever going to go back to the debate of, was Mike McCarthy really the problem? Now, yes, they weren't in the NFC Championship last year, but Aaron Rodgers missed, I think, most of the season.
Yeah,
if
he
not
did.
Half.
He did miss a chunk of the season last year, and Rodgers has been more plagued by injury than Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or these other guys that have, you know, kind of been there the whole time. It's always been weird for me to hear people try to put Aaron Rodgers in that same category as Tom Brady, because,
or even Peyton Manning,
or you know, in that conversation, just because, you know, we've seen Peyton Manning and Tom Brady do it in the regular season and the postseason. Even though Peyton Manning, I think, has set the record for the most one and dones in the postseason.
But that's also a record that is, strangely enough, impressive, because it's hard to make the playoffs.
That's reasonable, but you know, it's just, we've seen the success that these guys have throughout the years, and we don't see that from Aaron Rodgers and, like, even Drew Brees. Because these guys, as good as they are, as talented as they are still sometimes putting up records that don't get them into the playoffs. And I think Drew Brees has even had a couple of losing seasons.
I think Drew Brees, the year he set the all-time passing record, actually, I think he missed the playoffs. I think it was a losing season that year. Like, I think the 5,200 yards or whatever he put up that one year, I think was in like a 7-9 season. But the fact is you're right. Anybody who wants to put him in on talent alone, it's just an empty argument. Yes, he is incredibly talented, and yes, football is the ultimate team game. But when you're trying to say he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, I don't see it. And it might be just strictly because of work ethic, and you can't blame everybody else all the time. It's the LeBron mentality. When LeBron wins, it's all LeBron. But when LeBron loses, look at the cast, look at this, look at the coach.
Right.
He can't do it all himself. Okay, well then if he can't do it all himself, let's admit that he needs tremendous amounts of help to get success.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right, and I think that. And again, part of this you could pin on the front office not giving these guys some of the talent around them. I'm looking at just New Orleans Saints records from the time that
he went there in like 06, 05,
yeah,
06.
06 is his first year, so they were 10-6 that year, then 7-9, 8-8, 13-3, 11-5, 13-3, 7-9, 11-5, and then 3 straight years of 7-9. So for as talented as Drew Brees is, we're looking at 5 losing seasons and then 1 8-8. And if I look up Green Bay, it's probably going to be
most of the losing seasons are in Green Bay are Aaron Rodgers injured seasons.
Right, and
he's broke his collarbone twice.
Yeah, and these are kinds of things. But I mean, we can. In some ways, put that on Aaron Rodgers. In some ways, we can.
I think it's the age old statement. He who gets all the praise gets all the blame too.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't. Yeah,
somehow he's always been able to avoid it.
I mean, somehow it's always been Mike McCarthy's inability to adapt to offense or adapt to analytics. Well, I said this, I think last week, or at least I talked to people when I was talking to people. I think Matt LaFleur's best coaching approach to that game last week was to stay out of Aaron Rodgers' way.
Yeah.
And no one will ever know what they actually did as a game plan except for people in that locker room. But if that was the case, that Matt LaFleur said, hey, look, I'm going to let you have the playbook, we can put the blame on Aaron Rodgers for the offensive inefficiency. They're down 27-0 the first half.
Yeah, and
a lot of that could be because Mostert
Mostert
ran for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Mostert was unbelievable, and again, this is a testament to is the front office giving Aaron Rodgers the weapons he needs, both on offense and on defense. And
well, to be fair, it is very hard, as weird as this sounds, it is very hard to get free agents to come to Green Bay.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
Because of the fact of, other than wanting to play for Aaron Rodgers, or play with Aaron Rodgers, what other advantages are there to going to Green Bay? Nobody cares about history anymore.
Yeah, no, history means nothing, especially to the players that are coming up nowadays.
Well, you can make the same money anywhere. I don't know the state income tax in Wisconsin, but it's not free like it is here.
Sure.
So, I mean, what? I mean, you play in the cold starting in, October, maybe even August. I mean, what advantages are there to coming to Green Bay anymore? I think in the 90s and the early 2000s, people cared about history and playing for a franchise. I mean, same with the Steelers, and even eventually probably same with the Pats. When Bill Belichick's gone and, we're 10 years removed from titles, the history of the Pats isn't going to matter to some guy who's 4 years old right now.
Right, and that's a reasonable point.
Colleges are having that problem. Florida State, one of the greatest 30-year runs in history, kids don't care.
Yeah.
They don't want to play.
Yeah,
they want to play. Excuse me. They don't want to play for Florida State.
And it's tough, especially when you're in a Green Bay or a Foxborough, as opposed to being in a city like Las Vegas or Los Angeles or New York. Well, New York's in fucking Newark, New Jersey, wherever it is.
East Rutherford.
It's right
on the other side of the bridge. Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
It's all
Newark's close. Newark sucks.
Yeah, so it's not.
Ironically, it's the best airport of the three. I will say that. So
really,
it is weird. Just knowing I've been to all three, and maybe it was just my 2 experiences there is a small sample size. But of my other experiences, look, JFK is a fucking nightmare.
JFK is ridiculous.
And LaGuardia just seems like the maze, and then the ushers at each part of the maze, they tell you to go the other, they tell you to go left when you're supposed to go. It's the worst. Newark was clean, clear, crystal, no issues. Got on and off. Got to the transportations. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe with LaGuardia doing some upgrades, they'll be better. But JFK, I will never fly into, and LaGuardia, I unfortunately have to fly into with Southwest because they are cheaper than going to Newark. Anyways, small tangent.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
That's what you get for flying Southwest.
I love Southwest. Fuck that. I will. Yeah, I love everything about them.
I'm JetBlue through and through, but after that fucking 9-hour delay I had going back to Boston for Christmas, I'm a little.
I have never had an issue with Southwest, but I have also never tried JetBlue. So.
Yeah, I enjoy it. But anyway.
But the Uniteds, the Deltas, no thanks.
Oh, no, fuck that. Yeah, they're not people friendly, let's put it that way.
Back to sports.
Yeah, okay. So,
what were we talking about?
Aaron Rodgers and whether or not people want to go to Green Bay. And you're right. I think that having these not weird, but like kind of out of the way cities that have history but haven't really done much lately. Obviously, having a conference championship this year is impressive for Green Bay, but is that enough to get somebody to want to go there in free agency? And probably not. And I think
they've drafted great. I mean, for the players they have, it's just getting free agents there's tough. I mean, I think they've done great. I mean, Devontae Adams, great draft pick.
Yeah.
Just a couple off my head. Jair Alexander was a rookie this year, good cornerback. Those are the two that come right to mind. I mean, the only notable free agent I remember is Jimmy Graham. And I mean, let's face it, he's on the back nine.
Yeah, he's definitely on his way out.
But yeah, I mean, that actually begs the question. So to me, is if Aaron Rodgers cared more about winning, would he have left Green Bay when that contract expired? I think it was 3 years ago. Should he have left Green Bay for a different contender? I mean, say he left Green Bay and went to San Francisco.
That could
before Jimmy G came around,
yeah.
Or went to L.A. I mean, again, L.A. probably. I say L.A. I meant the Rams or Chargers.
Yeah, either one because Phillip Rivers.
I don't think they would have gotten rid of Phillip Rivers 3 years ago, but maybe they would have. If Aaron Rodgers came and said, "Hey, I'm interested," they may have gotten rid of Phillip Rivers.
Right. Do you think Aaron Rodgers would have gone to a team like Tennessee?
Not necessarily. I don't think they were competitive. What I'm saying is, if he was in it to win it, and Green Bay just wasn't doing it, and I want to say that contract was 2016 or 17. He signed for $35 million a year. Tennessee probably not, but I mean, before Mahomes was drafted in Kansas City. I mean,
what about going to Denver after Manning retired?
That's another one.
Yeah,
I mean, it just didn't seem like the winning. And I could be way off base. This is purely opinion. It just didn't seem. If you felt like you couldn't win with McCarthy, because that rift was doing this for 8 years.
Oh yeah.
So if you felt that maybe it was just a pride thing, I'm going to stay here till he's run out of town. I'm not going to be the guy who runs away from the problem because when Peyton Manning was run out of town. I wouldn't say run out of town, but I mean obviously Luck was drafted and when they got the number 1 pick. They were like. Because if they didn't get the number 1 pick, meaning the Colts, they would have kept Peyton Manning.
Oh, for sure. Well, they would have needed number 1 or number 2. Because remember, when they got Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III was in there. And he was, some people had him rated higher than Andrew Luck. So
raising my hand.
Yeah, that's one of the things where you're right. I mean, kind of hindsight.
Andrew Luck almost seemed too can't miss, too good to be true. And
right.
He was great.
Well, and the same people that said that probably said that Ryan Leaf was a better prospect than Peyton Manning.
People said that too. Yeah.
And they were 1 and 2 that draft class. Right. So. And, there was a draft card that was posted the other day. It was Patrick Mahomes that said that was a C- draft pick. He was picked number 10, I think, in the first round? 13?
Deshaun was 10.
And they said, this is too risky of a pick at this position that he's...
I think he got most of his stigma from just being a Big 12 quarterback.
That's possible, yeah. So, anyway, but you're right. It is very curious to see if Aaron Rodgers... If he had left Green Bay, what that would have meant for the future of Mike McCarthy in that city, but also, is it more about Aaron Rodgers just being stubborn and trying to win in Green Bay despite Mike McCarthy as opposed to working with him?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Because the other argument that Rodgers supporters throw out is, well, if you put Rodgers in New England, he'd have 6 rings, which may be true. Let's see, 2018 is when he signed that big contract. So that was 2 years ago. So effectively, it probably would have been right before, or it was right after the Chiefs drafted Mahomes. So they may not have gone. But anyways, I don't want to rehash on that. But the point being is that that might be true, but at the same time, it might not be true. Maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't cohesively gel with Bill Belichick like Brady did for so many years.
Yeah.
I mean, you can clearly see that he didn't, gel with his current coach, or I guess his former coach. So who knows that he would have subscribed to Bill Belichick's theory? Because at the time, if you had Aaron Rodgers and you drafted him in 2000, when he came out, 2004, and Tom Brady never existed, and Drew Bledsoe was retiring, and Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden became just as cocky as he is now, who's to say he would have gone about the Belichick way?
Yeah, that would have rubbed Belichick the wrong way for sure. And you have to wonder not only how he would get along with Belichick doing that kind of thing, but the coordinators like Josh McDaniels. Like, how is he going to put up with an ego like that as opposed to working with somebody like Tom Brady? Because we've seen Josh McDaniels outside of New England, and he's not good. At least he has proven that
so far, what we have, the sample size, yeah.
And it's not the biggest, obviously, with the head coaching in Denver, the OC in St. Louis before they moved to L.A. That was only a year, but, I mean, they didn't do much under him. So, it's kind of this what-if game is a little curious to see how things would have played out, and all it takes is one minor little shift, and it just kind of snowballs and has this massive cascading effect down the line.
It is. I mean, it's obviously something you can never really ever... You can say whatever you think would happen, but, anything could happen. We could be wrong, and he could have won 6 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick. But
it's possible.
Yep. Anyways, I just think, long story short, to recap that conversation, is that I think we pumped the brakes on this one of the greatest of all times with Aaron Rodgers. It's just they do the same thing with Dan Marino, and I watched of Dan Marino. Yeah, he's fantastic, but winning is the ultimate goal in this sport.
Yep,
and he's only done it once, and he should have, with all of the praise that he gets, done it more often. So I don't know. Anyways, let's look at early action in the Super Bowl. Obviously, before the Super Bowl next week, we are going to be on again, so we will be deep diving, probably a very long podcast on the Super Bowl, and also the Bible comes out. If you're listening to this then the weekend, the Bible already came out, so we will be cracking that open and analyzing all the picks. The first one I like, which I've seen it on a card at Caesars, is I like a double dip here of first interception thrown by Mahomes at plus 240, and first turnover of the game is the 49ers commit the first. No, excuse me. The Chiefs commit the first turnover of the game. 49ers get the first turnover of the game at plus 175.
Interesting.
I think I want to double dip because I'll be a slight loser if it's a fumble.
Yeah.
Because I'll lose Mahomes. Well, no, not necessarily. I guess Mahomes could be the first one to throw a pick, and the 49ers, Mahomes could throw a pick, and then the next, Mahomes could strip sack. I'm going here somewhere with this, and I've lost my train of thought.
I was going to say, I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say.
First turnover is a Chiefs turnover for the 49ers. Oh, man.
Jesus Christ,
I know.
It out,
I'm having problems. If I was looking at the thing, I could fucking read it just straight up. 49ers get the first turnover by strip sacking Mahomes.
Okay.
And then the next turnover is also a Mahomes interception. Because it says the first quarterback, it's Jimmy G or Mahomes to throw the first pick.
Gotcha.
God damn, that was hard to do.
Wow.
Anyways, I like that for a double dip.
That's something, all right. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at any of the prop bets yet. I've been focusing on the game line as it is, and just trying to figure out where my money's going to go. And I did put money in early, not a lot, but I put money on one of the sides here, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I really got to do a deeper dive because that was based on just feeling and just intuition as opposed to actually doing research on this thing.
Well, I can probably just admit this now, and my thoughts, feelings, comments, concerns may change in the next week, but immediately when the line came out at Kansas City -1 and San Francisco plus 105, I dumped 200 on San Francisco money line.
Yeah, and When I saw that, because I had this pegged towards the end of the NFC Championship game, I was talking to my dad, and I asked him what he thought the opening line was. He said San Francisco -6. I was like, "There's no
way.
There's no possible way it'll be that." But San Francisco minus like 2.5, I can definitely see. Having Kansas City as a favorite blew my mind, so I dumped a bunch on San Francisco money line as well.
Actually, at halftime of the San Francisco Green Bay game, Westgate put out a pick'em.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked because I was like, can they do that? I mean, what? How do they? I guess they just refund those bets if somehow Green Bay comes back in this game, or does anybody who picks San Francisco just automatically lose?
That's a good question.
I would imagine they'd refund that bet.
I don't know.
But San Francisco was up 27-0. They were like already that bold.
I think if Green Bay comes back in that game and you have San Francisco winning in the Super Bowl. If they don't make the Super Bowl, they didn't win the Super Bowl, therefore the bet is a loser.
Correct, but is that a legal bet? That feels like a trap.
I think that it plays the same as a futures bet.
Plays the same as the futures?
Yeah.
Interesting. Even though it's an individual matchup?
I think so.
I'm going to tweet Jay Cornegie and see if maybe he'll answer me and see what was that. Or maybe there was a mistake and they don't want anybody to know about it. Because I just happened to check at halftime like, I wonder what this would open up. What are the possibles? And it had the only option was San Francisco versus Kansas City.
Wow!
And I was like, wow, they're that confident. I mean, it was 27-0 at the time.
Yeah.
So, even if San Francisco didn't even come out for the second half, they'd have won 27-20.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I've been going back and forth on it. I'm always a proponent that, and I know it's a cliche, but it stands for a reason. Defense wins championships.
Yep.
And their defense is far better than Kansas City's defense. Not giving any discount to Kansas City's defense. They played hard. They stopped Derrick Henry for all intents and purposes. Obviously, we know Pat Mahomes is the better quarterback than Jimmy G, at least statistically. But we said this last time against Green Bay. You, with your money currently on San Francisco, if they got to drive down the field against Kansas City's defense, do you feel confident that Jimmy G can do it?
So that question was asked last week when it was
Green Bay's defense.
No, when it was Tannehill. Tannehill against Kansas City.
I think I asked the same question with Jimmy, but yes, Tannehill as well, yeah.
And it was, do you feel confident? And I will say that I feel a lot more confident with Jimmy G than I do with Tannehill. And
you want to set a Mostert rushing line? So I can
God, no. Clearly, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to setting rushing lines.
You should go work at a book, and we can just have you set lines, and I'll just bet and clean up.
I actually tried. A buddy of mine works for one of the companies around town that does mostly slots, and they're trying to get into sports betting.
Bally's?
No, IGT.
IGT.
And they had a bunch of positions out for sports, whatever. And
just get an app. That's all you need.
I applied. I'm like, give me the like this, that, and the other thing, and nope, got rejected outright. Didn't even get an interview.
Do you have any experience?
Oh, no.
Other than DGen betting?
No, DGen betting, this podcast, and then the contest that we came up with, which, by the way, I'm trying to patent. I'm legitimately speaking to my wife. I'm having her check out how I can get that patented so I can try to sell it.
Interesting. I think it needs some tweaks, which we'll work on this offseason.
Yeah.
But interesting. That would be cool.
Yeah, because I think there's a better way to do it, and we can talk about it off air. But, yeah, I think there's I think definitely that it's marketable and that it's something that a sports book could pick it up and make money off it instantly.
For show.
Instantly.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I think in this spot, Jimmy G.
I'll take 10%.
Yeah, all right. Jimmy G marching down the field, the 2 minutes, no timeouts, blah, 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 I think is a much better pick than the Tannehill.
Agreed.
This year, and maybe Rodgers. I don't know. The only thing that would concern me about Jimmy G is the high number of interceptions that he threw during the regular season. Obviously, in the postseason, he hasn't had to do much, so we haven't seen.
He threw more interceptions in the regular season than he threw passes in the NFC Championship.
Absolutely, almost double. So that's the kind of thing where you have to say. But I still think Jimmy G has the ability to drive this team down the field. Plus, we've obviously seen how good Mostert is. So even when it's that 2 minutes, no timeouts thing, Green Bay can't sell out and go all pass on the defense. They have to still respect Mostert. because that dude can just plow through a line and get
Kansas
yards
City?
in chunks. Kansas City, yeah.
Okay.
So,
But yeah, that's 100% true. I mean, not only that, they have Breida, who in the beginning of the season was a just looked like Mostert.
yep.
He had about a 5 or 6 week stretch where he was unstoppable, one of the best running backs in the league. And I don't know what the status of Tevin Coleman is. Obviously, probably for his pride and his legacy, he wants to play. But he's 50-50 right now, is what they're saying.
Ooh.
There's a chance he can play. Now, depending on what outlet you look, there's been a questionable chance. There's been a good chance. I think he's going to try to give it a go. I mean, he's got 7 months to fucking rehab if he fucks it up more.
Yeah, and the headline that I'm seeing right now from the other day is that he hopes that he will
There's
be able
another
to
one.
play.
Yeah, he hopes
So,
to play.
Yeah, no, I completely... I think that he is going to do everything in his power to be able to play in this game.
Sure.
Because why would you miss this if you
Have the
had the
opportunity.
choice? Yeah.
But yeah, early thoughts. I like San Francisco to win this game. Other early thoughts. The over has been pounded. It opened up at 51.5 or 52. It's up to 54, and I think this thing will get to 56 by game time. So I am waiting.
And you're going to bet the under?
Correct.
Wow, okay. I actually hadn't thought about the total at all, but yeah, I think under 56. Oops, sorry.
I think both teams finish in the 20s.
I could definitely see that because it's going to be San Francisco's defense obviously is damn good. And if they're keeping the ball on the ground, then that obviously keeps the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And, this isn't the kind of game where Mahomes can just, throw the ball up and hope for the best because San Francisco's defense is way too good for that.
Yeah, and I figure if I can wait and this thing pops up to 56, which, I mean, next week is when the bets will be coming into Vegas.
Oh,
because
for sure.
people will be coming in, and
Yeah.
especially by like Thursday or Friday, I'm hoping that total runs up to 56, 56.5. And again, I think that both teams finish in the 20s, and really I'm hoping to have every combination of the 20s except for maybe 29, 28, 29, 29, which obviously we can't finish 29, 29, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just, I don't know, that's my early thoughts. I mean, to see that get pounded that fast, that's what she said.
Hey, yo.
I don't know. I love everything about the under in this game. I think San Francisco will control it, but I've been wrong once, and that was a weird day.
Yeah, that does happen. It's kind of funny, too, because 60% of the money's coming in on Kansas City, so you have to feel good about the...
Well, 60% of the action, if you're looking at
60%
covers.
of the action,
Yeah.
yeah, 60% of the action. So, that's going to make you feel a little bit better about San Francisco, too, because the public are suckers.
Sure. But am I part of the public? And the sharps are... The sharps are the 60%,
Well, it could be.
Never know. It's weird. Like I said, sports are rigged. I just hope I'm on the right side.
Yeah.
All right, so we're obviously going to have a lot much more Super Bowl talk in next week's podcast, and obviously prop bet galore. We're going to go over that Bible this week, and so we can have a really, really thorough podcast. Maybe the tokens will show up for that one.
Hey, I'll send out a text today before I hit the road for LA and make sure that they know that they're due to be here next week.
And they're still on the hook for some money.
Yeah, and I'm going to owe for the MGM bet that we have too.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what. The only people with money left are me and Fake Token.
Yep.
So, speaking of money left,
Yes.
I shouldn't have any left because I should have been DJing Australian Open for the last 3 days. But fucking William Hill did not offer in-play betting. They are stupid. So
Really?
shout out William Hill for saving me money because most of my bets would have been wrong, and you didn't get my money. So fuck off. I didn't understand it. Like, I've been able to bet British Open because I work nights. So anytime there's a night live event, I love being able to just in-play. Like there was one, or the UFC event was in South Korea that day, and I just DJ'd off like $200 or $300.
Damn.
Well, I won it, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, I was able to DGen off like a couple $100. But the point being is that how is the Australian Open not available for live betting with William Hill? It's just, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that is kind of bizarre, but it's going to have something to do with they don't have the people manning the computers and the algorithms in the
One
books
guy.
at that hour.
One guy.
No, it seems like they should be able to.
Maybe you can get hired at William Hill to be the overnight in-play guy.
Ooh, there we go.
There you go. See, you gotta it's opportunity, man. When the door opens or when the door closes, open a window. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. When the door closes, you make lemonade. I forget the saying.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyways, let's move on from the Super Bowl, early Super Bowl talk, and this is a kind of an interesting one as we wrap it up here. I'm kind of intrigued to have this conversation because as two Patriot fans, we get to discuss, and probably not much debate, Eli Manning. And that has been the big topic, and I posted on Twitter, I even said this, the day he retired. I said, this might be one of the polarized, Eli Manning's Hall of Fame candidacy might be one of the most polarized discussions that we have in sports over the next 5 years.
Yes.
And I think Eli Manning's Hall of Fame worthiness is going to go up and down over the next 5 years as well.
Really?
Without playing a game.
Okay.
When I say that, I mean if you took a poll every, however many months or years you want to do it, a consistent poll of the same people who are involved in sports, I'm willing to bet that poll kind of goes in a wave of 60% no, 40% yes. Now it's 55% no, 45% yes. Then somehow it tilts over to yes and then kind of goes back. I feel like if you did a poll every month or 3 months, it would do that.
Interesting.
But if we had a vote for the next 5 years, my vote is no.
Yeah, and I'm also on the no. Now, I've been getting into Hall of Fame arguments on Twitter basically all week, but this is a hockey one about Marc-Andre Fleury.
And we can talk about that as well because I'm not shocked. I want to know, because you posted this on Twitter to most of VGK media.
Yeah.
And I'm not shocked that most of them didn't respond.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't expect most of them to respond. I was hoping that Ken from Sinbin would respond.
I thought he would be one of them that would.
But he posted an article after a loss where he said, and Hall of Famer Marc-Andre Fleury, and I responded to that by saying, he's not a Hall of Famer, here are some stats, and he deleted the comment off of his blog.
He deleted your comment?
Yeah, he deleted my comment. So
we have to get Ken back on here.
I tagged him specifically to try to get him to actually start talking to.
He's one I thought would respond to you. Jesse was one I thought might respond to you, but Lawless and Goucher, they work for the team.
There's
no chance.
I figured that they wouldn't, except to say if they wanted to come in and say he's definitely a Hall of Famer because of this, this, and this, and then stop responding, if I tried to counter it, I would have understood that a little bit more than just ignoring it completely. But the fact that Jesse Granger was able to come in and say definitely a Hall of Famer and actually back it up and talk about it that way,
respect.
I definitely respect him for that. Actually, that might have pushed me to subscribe to The Athletic, which I've been kind of on the fence about anyway. But the fact that he's willing to engage like that, then I think I might actually shell out the money for it.
Well, then he's a great company man.
Yeah, no, and I'll.
What is it, Athletic? $4 a month or something like that?
Yeah, it's cheap as hell. But it's from what I have seen and what people have talked about, it's definitively worth it because of the reporting and everything else that they're able to put out. So it's definitely worth it. But you're right. That is another conversation for another day. But yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury is not a Hall of Famer. I don't care what Granger says. It's just, fucking, all right, whatever. So Eli, the actual topic at hand,
yes,
also is not a Hall of Famer. We're
twinsies.
Yeah, when we're talking about the Hall of Fame now, obviously for quarterbacks, because it's such a high-profile position, they get a lot more media attention. Therefore, they are more friendly with the media. Therefore, they are more likely to have positive or negative relationships and should be able to influence votes that way. And if you look at the numbers, he's 8th all-time in touchdowns, 7th all-time in yards. So those two numbers alone are impressive to a certain extent. But when you realize he's exactly 50-50 in wins and losses, 117?
I believe that's correct.
He's 45th all-time in passer rating. He has the most interceptions among active quarterbacks right now. His interception percentage is 50th best of all time, which is but he's only led the league in any category at all ever 3 times, and all 3 times it was interceptions.
Interceptions, yeah.
So, when we're talking about the Hall of Fame, it has to be somebody that is so goddamn good that they set themselves apart from everybody else. If the only stat where you're setting yourself apart from everybody else is a negative one, in this case interceptions, that is not good enough for the Hall of Fame.
In this case, completions to the other team.
Yes.
If you try to spin it somehow.
That is just not good enough for the Hall of Fame. It's good enough for the Hall of Very Good. It's good enough for the Hall of Long Careers, but it's not good enough for the Hall of Fame.
Which is funny because regarding another Hall of Fame this week, I even said putting Larry Walker in after it took 10, however many years is the max, to put somebody in the Hall of Fame, they're not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
They're a Hall of Really Good.
Yep.
And you're diluting the Hall of Fame when you do things like that. Oh, it's a down year. Or we can only put so many in this year. Or we have to put so many in this year. No, don't. The Hall of Fame should be exactly that. I mean, people who change the game in whatever fashion. Just like, and I'm not a big basketball guy, but Colin Cowherd was talking about if Steph Curry didn't play another game, he's a Hall of Famer.
Huh.
And I agree, because not only, obviously, he has the titles, and while he might not have the longevity, he changed the game in the fact that he made the three ball almost a staple in offenses now because of how accurate he and Klay Thompson were. Okay. Eli Manning you're correct. And I don't even know if he's in the Hall of Really Good.
He might not be, but I mean, there's enough people arguing for him to get into the Hall of Fame that I think a Hall of Very Good argument could be made. It's just one of those things that, not only does he not have the statistical ability to get out there year in and year out and show the stats that people would need in order to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to look at complete big picture. And when you look at his record, staying at 500 year after year after year, only making the playoffs, twice, I think, total? That's just not good enough, especially when we're talking about his contemporaries. His brother Peyton, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, all of these other guys who have set themselves apart. Eli Manning can't be part of that conversation. It's just, he's not good enough. He hasn't put up the stats. He hasn't had the wins. The other problem that Eli had, obviously playing for a team like the Giants, is dealing with the New York media. I just talked about a minute ago about how difficult it is for these guys to have relationships with the media. There's no media more well, maybe Boston, but there's no media more brutal than the New York media, especially when teams aren't doing well. So when you have all of these losing seasons with the Giants like Eli had, it's just not going to be good enough. Let me look up the New York Giants records over the past few years here, because it's baffling to me how people can think that somebody that is this good, bad, indifferent, whatever, is going to be good enough. Eli came in the league. When did Eli come in the league? 04?
Yeah.
So, we're looking, starting with 04, 6-10, 11-5, 8-8, 10-6, 12-4, 8-8, 10-6, 9-7, 9-7.
I think he made the playoffs 4 times.
7-9, 6-10, 6-10, 11-5, 3-13, 5-11, and then this year they were 4-12. It's just he made the playoffs. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 2 Super Bowl wins. Everything else was a one and done. So not good enough. Cost a couple of coaches their jobs by just kind of being mediocre. I mean, 13-3 with somebody that you're trying to put in the Hall of Fame? How is that fucking possible?
13-3, what do you mean?
3-13.
I was just saying,
yeah.
13-3 is good.
He's actually never gone 13-3. His best record ever is 12-4. And that was 2008, where they lost in the divisional round.
He made the playoffs 6 times. It doesn't feel that way. But
really
I guess that's
doesn't.
the one and done.
Yeah. But yeah, it was 05, lost in wild card. 06, lost in wild card. 07, won the Super Bowl. 08, lost in the divisional round. Missed the playoffs, won the Super Bowl. Miss, lost in wild card. Miss. Not good enough. That's just not good enough to get into the Hall of Fame.
Again, you're preaching the choir. I 100% agree, and it's literally placing someone in the Hall of Fame on 2 years in their career.
Yep.
The unfortunate situation is those 2 years, he beat some of the let's just put it this way, and this isn't even a homer thing. If the Pats finished 19-0, and won the Super Bowl, they were the greatest team of all time without question.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
100%. But they aren't.
Yep.
Because of Eli Manning's Giants teams. And obviously... Okay, first let me ask you this. Was he in the grasp?
The which one?
The David Tyree catch.
Oh.
Everybody says it shouldn't even have been thrown because he was in the grasp of the defender, Eli Manning.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched that play in a while, but from what I remember...
Have you not been watching TV all week?
I really haven't. I've been trying to avoid it.
A lot of TVs at my job, so...
it feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it feels like in that situation, the refs were not going to play a close... They're not going to blow a close play dead quick.
And I'm okay with that. And again, I'm not on the in the grasp side. I actually respect his ability to get out of it.
Yeah. And I think that was... No, I'm fine with the throw. The catch obviously killed me. Actually, when... was it Lockett for Seattle that made that juggling catch on the sideline there?
Jermaine Curse.
Jermaine Curse. When he made that same kind of catch, I started pacing around my house saying, "It's happening again! It's happening again!"
I was like, "How many fucking spectacular catches by nobodies are we gonna have to deal with in this?" Because it was like, you're right, because they had lost in 2007, they lost in 2011. You're like, God, are they ever gonna win again? And they did, and it was like they're down at all of a sudden they're down at the one. I'm like, it's gonna happen again.
Unbelievable. But yeah, no, I for that kind of play, it didn't bother me that they didn't blow the whistle, because even though, obviously I wanted that play to be blown dead, I understand why the refs didn't do it. And I don't understand the refs a lot in this fucking league. But in that particular instance, I understood why they didn't want to blow it dead.
Fair. It's just, to me, I don't know. It's not the haul of a ton of stats.
Right.
Which he doesn't even really have. What is he? What did we say he was? 7th all time?
It is, I have it here, 8th all time in touchdowns, 7th all time in yards.
I mean, is that, again, we talked about Drew Brees. You talked about him with all of those losing seasons or mediocre seasons. Drew Brees might be almost in the same boat.
Drew Brees is getting in, though.
Yeah, so then that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to now find a spot to justify Eli getting in. I mean, let's look at. I want to look at Drew Brees' career here in this spot, and he has one Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, he only has the one compared to 2 for Eli,
which he beat also a team that a lot. I mean, they were heavily favored against the Saints and Peyton Manning's Colts. But I mean, Drew Brees is what, number 1 all time in touchdowns and yards.
Regular season touchdowns, yes. Yeah. Yards, I believe. You'd have to check. But even with Drew Brees' losing seasons, he's still has better records even in losing seasons than Eli, because Eli has a bunch of stinkers out there, which Drew Brees doesn't.
But do we put what's the question I was going to ask? Do we put Drew Brees on a higher pedestal because his success is more recent than Eli's?
Ooh. So sort of a recency bias? I don't know. I think that... No, I think because it's not just the success of being very good for a couple of years and having stinkers. It's Drew Brees has done it consistently over the course of his career. And the fact that he does it at such a high level, and he's not middling, like he's not 8th in touchdowns, he's 1st in touchdowns. He's not 7th in yards, he's 1st in yards.
Yeah, I guess he's going to get in from stats. I think that was maybe a poor comparison. I was just trying to find somebody around that area. I mean, maybe Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is probably a good comparison.
Who's probably going to get in, despite probably never winning any Super Bowls.
Yeah, which would be
Chargers quarterbacks for what do you call par for the course?
Yeah,
with the 2 that are going to get in. I don't know. It just Brees is probably in simply on statistics and the 1 ring. Eli, I guess, is going to get in for the 2 playoff appearances. He is 8th. It just seems like it's only the 2 Super Bowls. Like, that's it.
Yep. It does feel that way.
And again, eighth to me, it doesn't seem worthy in a spot that being eighth in a league that now is almost all about passing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't jump off the page for me.
Yeah, and that should be a criteria for getting in the Hall of Fame, is that they have something that you can hang your hat on and definitively say, this guy deserves to get in because he was fantastic and excelled at this. Winning 2 Super Bowls is not enough. It's just not.
I mean, I'm trying to see who... I mean, the fact that in a passing league, he's still 4,000 yards behind Marino, which if he played another year, he could probably get there.
Maybe. I mean, do you really feel that confident that he could do it in a year?
Well, how much did he throw for 2 years ago?
I don't know, but they went 5 and 11.
I'm not worried about the record. It's yards. I mean, Jameis Winston threw for almost 4,000 yards, and they were what?
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
Let's see. 2018, he threw for 4,200 yards.
All right.
Which, ironically, is his second highest total. No, excuse me. There's a couple 44s in there.
He's got a 49 in 2011.
Right, that's why I saw that was his highest. I didn't see the two 44s in 14 and 15.
You're right, yeah.
But you're right. I mean, here, 2013, 18 touchdowns, 27 interceptions.
Yep.
I mean, 2007 when they won the first title against the Patriots dynasty, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. 244 picks in his career total.
Yeah, I mean,
that's absurd.
He's unfortunately going to get in, but I don't believe he's a Hall of Famer. Because again, like you said, what is the defining stat? Manning has just...
Which Manning?
I'm sorry, Peyton Manning has 2 Super Bowls, obviously. He also had, at one point, was the yards leader,
yep.
and at one point was the touchdown leader.
Yeah.
At least at the time he retired, he owned both those records.
And Peyton Manning's got a couple of MVPs under his belt, too,
I believe 5.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think he's got at least 3. But I think he might have 5.
Let's see. Yeah, 5 MVPs.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady's obviously Super Bowls. Joe Montana's Super Bowls. I mean, John Elway was career statistics at the time he retired were ridiculously high, and then the 2 Super Bowls at the end. And actually, I think he appeared in 5 as well. John Elway, 5 or 6.
Yeah, maybe.
But, I mean, Dan Marino is the only person who, like Eli, if he was trying to make his own case, could point to. But I don't think he was as good as Dan Marino.
No. No, he wasn't. But, I mean, statistically, obviously we'd have to compare them and kind of look at what they did, but it's such a different league now than it was when Dan Marino played that even comparing them stat to stat would be difficult.
I mean, okay, here we go. So let's look at Matthew Stafford, who is 16,000 yards away. Let's say 4 more healthy years, he hits Eli and doesn't, maybe he wins a Super Bowl in that. Is he Hall of Famer? I mean,
where's Token?
I'm trying to find a guy that goes into the Hall of Fame that Eli could point to him and say, I have a career similar to him. I mean, obviously the Super Bowl is the only thing that really helps. 57,000 yards is 7th. It's going to get passed many times in the future as this game evolves.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodgers is going to get him. Ryan's going to get him. Roethlisberger will, if he plays again, is going to get him. Rivers is ahead of him. Matthew Stafford probably. Joe Flacco probably not. Let's see. Who else is around here? Alex Smith probably not. So there's about 3 or 4 guys. Russell Wilson may get him, depending on... He's got 30,000 right now.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to depend on career longevity as well.
Of course. I mean,
which, again, we go back to the...
Well, they're playing longer, too.
It's not the Hall of Long Careers. It's the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, if you got stats over 20 years just because you played for 20 years, that doesn't necessarily make you a Hall of Famer.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm still on no, but I'd love to have somebody on Twitter or somebody who wants to talk on this podcast tell me why yes.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense to me that he's in. I mean, just doesn't have it for me. And, this is not a Patriots bias, because if this were any other quarterback that had these stats and this many losing seasons, I'd say the same thing. Just not good enough to get in.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. What about Matt Ryan? 51,000 right now, no Super Bowls, 1 appearance.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, again, he's another guy.
I think it's going to be the same thing.
Mired in mediocrity. If his career ends in 2 or 3 years with no Super Bowl titles, but he's got 61,000 yards, I still don't put him in.
Yeah, I mean that. It would be impressive numbers, but I think it would just be borderline. He probably gets in as one of those, last season of eligibility. You kind of throw him in, throw him a bone. Maybe that's what Eli gets too. But I've seen people on Twitter saying first ballot Hall of Famer for Eli, which is just baffling.
That's just Giants fans.
Yeah,
but it's like the baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, it evolves. 350 home runs used to be automatic.
Yep.
Then it was 500 home runs. And now it might be 600 if that's your thing. If your thing is hitting home runs,
yeah.
Like Adam Dunn, I'm gonna try to look it up here while I'm talking. Adam Dunn was a terrible fielder. He struck out a ton.
Oh yeah,
but I believe he might have somewhere close to 500 home runs if my fucking internet would work. Point being is he's not gonna get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
zero chance. Couldn't play offense. Like his thing was home runs. So
and that's going to come to the
482 home runs, he's not going to get in. 1,100 RBIs.
And that's going to come to the question, is David Ortiz a Hall of Famer? Because as good as he was as a hitter, and he didn't strike out as much as Adam Dunn, he was a designated hitter.
I'm okay with him because of the clutch World Series performances. Adam Dunn doesn't have those.
Right. Okay, that's fair. But yeah,
because you remember Joe Buck like at 4 a.m. We'll see you tomorrow night, or we'll see you tonight.
Yep.
Like when he hits that, I think it was like 14th inning walk-off homer, or walk-off single, little blooper.
Yeah,
like he has those moments. They call him. I don't know what they call him in baseball, but like in college football, they call him, what's this guy's Heisman moment? Like the moment that you can look back and say, remember when Charles Woodson won the Heisman? Well, that punt return he had against Ohio State where he held up the Heisman, but that was his Heisman moment. Like, Adam Dunn doesn't have that. Eli Manning, unfortunately, does, but that might be the only thing he has in a career of mediocrity.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. For the guys that are getting into the Hall of Fame, we want to see consistently good, consistently great the entire time. And Eli has peaks and valleys of being very, very good and absolute trash. So having that kind of dichotomous graph is just, it's not going to help him out.
Well, not only that, and in 5 years, provided Roethlisberger plays, let's say 5 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, provided all these guys stay healthy, by the time Eli Manning's up for Hall of Fame candidacy, he might be out of the top 10 in passing yards.
Wow.
Roethlisberger, again, if he plays again, is only 500 yards roughly away from him.
Oh yeah, so
Aaron Rodgers,
you can get that in a game.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Rodgers is 11,000. We assume he'll play 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah.
And Matthew Stafford is 16,000. We assume he'll play for 4 or 5 more years.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody would take Stafford.
Yeah. So
even if Detroit won't.
Even if Token won't. I think Detroit loves Stafford. It's just Token.
Yeah. Yeah. Token is obsessed with getting rid of him.
Yep. Stat Padford. So all right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Shout out to Adam Dunn for somehow getting on this podcast. Thank the sponsors again, 12 Ounce Sports, obviously, where we air every weekend here that you're listening to them, or you can listen to our podcast on vegassquares.com. Just click the listen now and then the podcast tab. You can listen to any one of our podcasts all the way down to episode 1. Also, Seat Giant promo code 12 Ounce Sports, where you can get discounted sporting events, theater, and concert tickets for Spike. And I guess I don't really have to say for Token Tony and Big Tony anymore.
No, they're completely MIA. I am going to send them that text and make sure that they
get paid, right?
Make sure they know to show up. And I do need to get paid for those bets. So
for Spike, for the Ghosts, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We will catch you on the next one. Remember, next week, Bible Prop Bet Palooza.
Yes, can't wait.
Peace.